Hello and welcome. This is Mr. Lauren with Reading Is Fantastical here with another book review for you today. Now, this book comes from the Children's Bible Classic series, so I totally understand if this doesn't apply to everyone. Now, we have a holiday that's coming up this weekend, and that holiday is Easter. Do you know anything about Easter? Do you know what it's about? Hmm? Well, this experience applies to some people and not to others. So sometimes kids don't know what it is Easter is all about. And in this case, because it's coming from the Bible Classic series, it's not about the Easter bunny and eggs and things of that nature, although it's wonderful. And a lot of people celebrate all over the world, all over the country. However, once again, the biblical part uh, that really doesn't come into play. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, I am a believer of Jesus, and so this is a wonderful time in my life. So I understand if this doesn't apply to everyone. Now, the full story, of course, is in the Bible. So talk to your family if you have any particular questions. But this particular book that we're going to be reviewing, not that it's in debate, but here is the book cover for this particular book. And there it is. All right, the story of the first Easter. Okay, the story of the first Easter. And so we have an author who is retelling the story because, as I mentioned, the story is actually in the Bible. So, but we're going to kind of create or kind of review this book here as it's told by retold, I should say, by this particular author. So he's going to pull out certain sections and kind of reword some of what's written there or make it palatable or easier for young people like yourself to understand. All right, let's go to the next page. And so here's the copyright page. Once again, he is retelling the story and giving credence to that. And the publisher, you go ahead and review, look at the publisher, Tommy Nelson Incorporated is the publisher of this particular book. Not necessarily the story, but this particular book. All right, go to the next page. And so we look at the inside cover. All right, so we see it right there. Okay, let's go to the next page. And so now let me go back here, set this up. So we're ready to get to the story once again. Okay, we have it here. Are you sitting comfortably? Are you relaxed? Do you have your reading ears on? Are you being quiet? And are you keeping your hands to yourself? All right, let's go. All right, so we see the first page here, and we see, and once again, this is debatable, but this is a picture of Jesus as it relates to this particular author. And some stories, as you read, he comes from a certain land. Okay, so sometimes a general look may be just a little bit different, but we get the idea. We're just trying to tell the story. Okay, all right, so go to the next page. And we see some townspeople, looks like here. So let's read what's written here. Jesus had been staying in Bethany, where his friends Martha, Mary, and Lazarus lived. But he knew that the time had come for him to go to Jerusalem, a different city. The people in Jerusalem wanted him to be their king. But Jesus knew that his Father in heaven had something even more important for him to do. All right, let's go to the next page. This is good. All right, so we see some townspeople, and they have, what do they have in their hands? We're going to find out here in just a second. Okay, as Jesus approached Jerusalem, many people went out to meet him, waving palm branches. That's what they have, palm branches. The people who knew who he was, and they were very excited to see him. Hosanna to the Son of David, they shouted. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Okay, so we see the picture there. Go to the next page. And we see him coming on a donkey. Okay, riding in. All right, next page. Let me get caught up here. All right, so we see some people, looks like sitting around a table, having some food. Okay, let's find out. We see Jesus sitting there. He's in blue. All right, let's find out what's going on here. Several days later was Passover. This was a celebration of the holy day when God delivered the children of Israel from the Egyptians. Jesus and his 12 disciples, his 12 friends, okay, got together at a friend's house in Jerusalem for a special Passover supper. Okay, that's what you're eating there. All right, go to the next page. And there we see some of the other friends that are at the table. Okay, so they're all sitting there listening to him. He's talking to them, and they're eating their Passover supper, right? Go to the next page. All right, as they were eating, Jesus took some bread and he blessed it and broke it and passed it out to his disciples. And he said, "Take this and eat it. This is my body," and not his real body. Okay, so make sure you have questions. Talk to your family members about what that means. Okay, then he took his cup, gave thanks, and said, "All of you drink from it. This is my blood of the covenant." Not really. Make sure you talk to your family about what that means. Poured out for the forgiveness of sins. Okay, so we see them looking down. Go to the next page, and we see him with the cup. So it's actually wine. But once you talk to your family about what all this means, okay? Because sometimes it can be somewhat confusing. Okay, go to the next page. All right. So we see Jesus there. He's talking to them again. Next page. Okay. So we see some people here. Everybody was happy that they could be together for this special supper, but Jesus seemed sad. He looked around the table at his disciples and said, "One of you will turn me over to our enemies." Okay, to the enemies like the police or something like that, right? 11 of his disciples couldn't believe their ears, but Judas, okay, Judas, he looks kind of the one on the end, knew what Jesus was talking about. We'll find out what Judas, why he knew he was talking about. Okay, let's go to the next page. And so we see Jesus out here. Looks like he's praying outside. He's in a garden or in a forest or something, right? Let's go to the next page. All right, so we see other people sleeping. Well, some of them sleeping in the grass underneath the tree. Let's read what's on the page. After supper, Jesus took his disciples to the Mount of Olives. So these olive trees and such, right? Then Peter, James, and John went with Jesus to a grove of olive trees called the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus often went to this place with his disciples to pray and rest. Jesus went among the trees and knelt down to pray. He asked God the Father to help him face what he knew was going to happen soon. All right, so we'll find out what that is here shortly. All right, let's go to the next page. All right, so we see some people with torches here with flames on stick, right? Okay, let's go to the next page, find out what this is all about. All right, so we see what's written here. A lot of people with flames. Okay, let's read. When Jesus came back to the three disciples, he found them sleeping and asked them to pray with him. But they fell asleep again. He went and prayed 2 more times. When the disciples awoke, they heard the noise of a crowd and saw the flashing of torches. The crowd was armed with swords, clubs, and spears. Whoa, coming a lot of weapons, huh? Okay. Judas rushed out from the crowd and greeted Jesus with a kiss as though he was glad to see him. The crowd knew Judas would kiss Jesus to betray him. Wow. They grabbed Jesus and arrested him. So they kissed him and they said that whoever the one that he kisses, that's the one that they want to grab. All right? That was his way of pointing him out. Okay? Let's go to the next page. Oh, we see a sword here. And we see Jesus grabbing the man with the sword. Okay, some people are angry. Let's go to the next page, find out what this is about. Okay, see we got with a torch here. Let's read what's on the page here, right? One of the disciples near Jesus drew his sword and cut off the ear, of the slave of the high priest. But Jesus said, "No more of this," and healed the slave's ear. If he cut it off, how did he heal it? So, wow, that's pretty interesting. Okay, so basically he put his hand on him and he healed the person and the ear was restored. Oh, he's got some powers, right? So let's continue reading. When Jesus' disciples saw that he would not allow them to fight, they ran away. The crowd took Jesus to Caiaphas, the high priest. Okay, let's go to the next page. All right, so we see, looks like he's a Roman guy with lots of gold, and he has a different kind of uniform here, right? He's washing his hands. All right, so let's read here. After a mock trial before Caiaphas, the crowd took Jesus to the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, who ruled over Judea. He listened to their complaints about Jesus and offered either to set a criminal named Barabbas free or to set Jesus free. So he asking the people, do you want Barabbas free or do you want to set Jesus free? Okay, the crowd wanted Barabbas set free instead of telling them to let Jesus go. Pilate washed his hands, let Barabbas go, and let them have Jesus. Okay, let's go to the next page. All right, so then the guards are taking Jesus somewhere. We see the crowd at the bottom there, right? They're yelling, "Take free Barabbas, keep Jesus." So they kept Jesus. Next page. Oh wow, we see Jesus here, and he's got some, looks like some thorns around his head. Yee, yikes, that must be sharp. Let's poke him in his face. Looks like there's someone, a lady that's crying there. We see some guards with the spear. And we see him leaning down with some wood, the wooden cross. We'll see the other half in just a second. Let's go to the next page. Up, there's the other half of the cross. So he's marching down the street with the cross. It looks really heavy. The crowd cried, "Crucify him!" So the Roman soldiers took Jesus out of the city to the place called Calvary or Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. Wow. They had made a huge cross to crucify Jesus on. A great crowd of people followed Jesus and the soldiers. Some were enemies of Jesus, glad to see him suffer. They did many wicked and painful things to hurt Jesus. Others were friends of Jesus. Some women followed him and cried. Jesus turned to them and said, "Do not cry for me." So he told the people that were crying, "Don't cry for me. It's okay. Don't cry for me." Right? They were literally sad, very sad for him, and very afraid. Let's go to the next page. Okay. Now we see somebody helping him carry the cross, looks like. And we see the gentleman here. Let's go to the next page. Oh, there's Jesus. So we had the other guy, he's helping him to carry the cross because it's very heavy and it was walking a long way, right? Up a hill. So let's read what's on this page. The soldiers tried to make Jesus carry his own cross, but soon found he was too weak from his suffering and could not carry it. They chose a man named Simon who was passing by. So someone was passing by and said, "You come over here and help him pick up the cross." Passing by and made him carry the cross to its place at Calvary. So told him, bring him out there, and told him to help help Jesus to carry the cross. Wow, that must be tough. Okay, next page. All right, so we see a bunch of people looking up. Let's see what he's looking up at. Let's read here what's on the page. When they came to Calvary, the soldiers laid the cross down and stretched Jesus out on it. They drove nails through his hands and feet to fasten him to the cross. So they drove nails, pop, 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 hammered nails right through his hands and his feet onto this cross when they laid it down. Then they stood the cross upright with Jesus on it. Jesus upon it. While the soldiers were doing this dreadful work, Jesus prayed to God for them. He prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing." Let's go to the next page. We see him up on a cross. Look at his hands spread out with nails on them. But it's all this weight. That must hurt a lot. And on your feet too, nailed through your feet. Okay, let's go to next page. Okay, so we see lots of wind blowing, rabbits, and a big field. Let's read what's on here. 2 men who had been robbers and had been sentenced to die were led out to be crucified at the same time with Jesus. One was placed on a cross at his right side and the other at his left. Pilate ordered a sign hung over Jesus' head which read, "This is Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." The people in the crowd looked at Jesus on the cross and mocked him. The priests and scribes said, "He saved others, but he cannot save himself. If you can come down from the cross, we will believe in you." Wow, that's something. Okay, let's go to the next page. Ooh, we see him up on a cross here. It must be at nighttime. It must have been there for a long time. We see them up on a cross. Okay, look at that road there he's going up. That's a long way. That's why he couldn't carry it. That's a long way to go, up a hill, right? Go to the next page. Okay, we see a man on here on the cross. Perhaps it's the one on the right. Looks like it's the one on his right. Even one of the robbers mocked Jesus, but the second robber scolded him. Don't you don't you fear God to talk like that? He asked. You are going to die the same way. We deserve to die, but this man has done nothing wrong. Then this man said to Jesus, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus answered him, today you will be with me in heaven. Wow, that's pretty powerful. Okay, go to the next page. And we see Jesus there talking to him. He's sweating, it's very hot. Of course, it's very painful as well. Okay, next page. Okay, so we see a woman who's crying. Okay, once again, keep in mind that sometimes the depictions may not necessarily be exactly look like the folks who lived in that area. Okay, now let's read what's on this page. Jesus saw his mother Mary and his friend Mary Magdalene standing near the cross. They were filled with sorrow for him. Also standing nearby was his disciple John. Jesus asked John to take care of his mother. So we see someone crying there. Okay, I'm not sure if it's mother. I think it is his mother. Okay, I'm not sure which one. And then go to the next page. We see John here as well. I'm thinking this is probably his mother. Here has a robe on, right? So they're both crying and telling John to take care of them. Next page. Oh, okay. We see his face sad and sweating and crying and very, 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 very sad. Lots of pain. Okay, been up there a long time. Okay, bleeding and such, right? Next page. Okay, and we see what's on the page here. Then a sudden darkness came over the land. Jesus cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me? It is finished. Father, into your hands I give my spirit. So he's talking to God, right? Talking to his father, letting him know, okay, that he's ready to join him. He said it's finished. He's ready to give up his spirit, okay, give up himself and give it to his father, right? Go to the next page. Oh, we see lightning striking. See, it's very dark. We see the people on the cross, right? Jesus and two robbers. We see a soldier at the bottom kneeling down. Okay, next page. Okay, we see a bird, very dark outside, lightning striking. At that moment, there was a loud clap of thunder, and the earth shook like an earthquake. The Roman officer who had charge of the soldiers around the cross saw what had taken place and how Jesus died. He was afraid and said, surely this was the Son of God. So now he believes about what's happening, right? Go to the next page. So we see it's like a big tomb, like a big hole in the mountain there, right? And they're carrying the body into this hole, into the tomb. Okay, and there they had different places you can, put in the tomb, not necessarily on the ground all the time. In this case, you put him in the tomb, right? Let's go to the next page. Okay, so we see the rest of the land. That evening, Joseph of Arimathea, a wealthy man who believed in Jesus, went to Pontius Pilate. He asked Pilate for permission to bury the body of Jesus. Joseph then took down his body from the cross and wrapped it in fine linen. Nicodemus, another man who believed in Jesus, brought precious spices, which they wrapped up with the body. Then they placed the body in a tomb, which is a cave dug out of a rock. They covered the opening of the tomb with a large stone. See that stone that's right next to it? They're going to roll that in front of the hole of the opening of the tomb. Next page. All right. So now we see some soldiers guarding. Okay, why are they guarding? Let's find out. The following morning, some of the people who had helped to crucify Jesus came to Pilate. They reminded him that Jesus had said, after 3 days, I will rise again. Pilate gave orders that the tomb be watched for 3 days to make sure that no one tried to take the body away. Okay? To try to trick him, something like that. So you put guards out there to make sure he stays in that tomb, even though he's already dead. Okay, let's go to the next page. All right, so we see lots of guards there guarding in front of that big rock, just to make sure. Okay, next page. We see the tomb is open. Some people standing in front. Uh-oh, what's going on here? Somebody moved the rock away? Let's find out for the next page. We see this what's called an angel here, it looks like. But it looks with wings on them. Let's read what's on the page. Early on the first day of the week, there was a great earthquake. An angel of the Lord came from heaven and rolled back the stone, and sat on it. Mary Magdalene and some of the others came to the tomb, found the stone rolled away, and saw the angel. The angel told them not to be afraid. Jesus was not there, he said. He had risen. Wow. Okay, let's go to the next page. Afterward, we see all the townspeople here listening to someone. Afterward, Jesus appeared to his disciples and stayed with them for 40 days. So he did rise, came back from the dead, right? Then he was taken up into heaven. Today, when we celebrate Easter, we remember the day that Jesus rose from the dead. And that's what Easter is about, biblically speaking. There are some people who celebrate in different ways, and that's okay, right? So we're talking about those who are believers. And so this is what this is about. Let's go to the next page. Okay. So we see him going back up to heaven after 40 days. Right? So that's it. Let me go to the last page, the back cover. And it talks about, if you also want to know more about the Children's Bible Classic series, there are more stories that are included in this series, and those are listed there. All right. So once again, I appreciate your time. This once again may not apply to everyone. It's a really good story if you want to learn about Easter from a children's point of view, or for those who don't necessarily want to read the whole Bible. But once again, it's in the Bible. So please like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Take care and have a wonderful Easter if you believe. Otherwise, have a wonderful weekend. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.